I want to thank everybody for joining us for today's session brought to you by Astrix Technology Group. Today's topic is SampleManager Modules, everything you need to know to get the most value from your SampleManager LIMS. Next slide, please. Before we get into the presentation, I want to take a moment and tell you a little bit about Astrix, who we are, why we think we have the right to be presenting this information to you today. We'll keep this brief and then we can get right into the presentation materials. We are an informatics professional services and staffing company dedicated to servicing the scientific community exclusively. The company was established in 1995, privately held. It originated within the IT division of a company called APBI, which is a $300 million life science organization. Today, Astrix operates from 8 offices with just over 650 employees with headquarters in beautiful Red Bank, New Jersey. There's 2 primary divisions, a staffing and a pro services division. We are dealing with the professional service division today. We work with Fortune 1000 life science companies, and the primary mission is to deliver scalable, sustainable solutions in IT and staffing for the scientific community. Next slide, Andre. In terms of the services that we offer, so we'll touch on some of these today. Obviously, we're talking about LIMS, and we're talking about a specific LIMS with SampleManager. We do end-to-end services that span the complete life cycle of scientific data systems. This is everything from helping companies understand these processes and projects from the very beginning through business process analysis and the enterprise architecture, making sure that systems are being designed to meet the specific needs of your lab. We help companies select the right laboratory technology for their particular needs. We help with development, implementation, and then computer systems validation of these systems. And then we offer a full 360-degree laboratory system services. This could be everything from, on-demand services to support services to training services to hosting services, etc. And then there's the scientific and technical staffing services, which is we can place individuals on staff in a variety of different ways and roles to help you maintain these systems, or even just within our staffing division, staff scientific personnel into your laboratories. So with that, I want to take a moment and introduce Andre Schlock. Andre is going to be the presenter for today. He's a managing informatics engineer here at Astrix. We're thrilled to have him on because he's an absolute expert in these topics today. He's worked over 15 years with hands-on experience in a variety of different systems, LIMS, CDS, ELN, etc. Mostly focused on products from Thermofisher Scientific, so SampleManager and Nautilus LIMS. He's a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and from Sao Paulo University in Brazil, and an MBA in business administration. He has extensive experience in business analysis, project and program management, and is certified in both traditional project management techniques, which is PMP, and of course, agile techniques. So I'd like to bring Andre on, and I'm going to pass you the reins, Andre, and you can kind of take it from here.
Well, thank you, Kevin. Oh, hello, folks. So, yeah, let's get going with this webinar about the SampleManager modules. So here is just a quick agenda on what we want to accomplish today. So, of course, there are a lot of modules on SampleManager, and each module has a lot of details about it. So the goal today is really to talk a little bit in a high level about, give you a quick overview about what is available out there, create some awareness about what is available as a module from Thermofisher Scientific for SampleManager. I'm going to be talking about these modules on a high level. We're going to see the list of modules and I'm going to go through in a bit. And more than that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the use of SampleManager modules and customizations focused on a new solution that Thermo is offering, which is called a pharma solution for QA/QC. So we're going to take a look on that and what is available. And in addition to the SampleManager modules, we have one colleague from Thermofisher Scientific, Keir Evans. He's going to be presenting at the end of this slideshow a little bit about a new offering from Thermo for SampleManager Link software on the cloud. So he's going to be covering that at the end of the presentation, and we're going to continue with a Q&A session. So going to the SampleManager modules. So this is what I want to cover in a high level today. So this is what we consider the most important modules that are available for SampleManager. Some of you that works on the process industries are more familiar with some of these modules, others are not. So like I said, this presentation is going to bring some awareness for that. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the SampleManager interface with PIMS, with SAP, which is the SampleManager IDI. We're going to talk about the SQC module, statistical quality control. We're going to touch a little bit into the LES module, talk about the mobile app, the SDMS functionality that comes with SampleManager, which is called Data Manager. We're going to talk a little bit about how SampleManager can integrate with some of the lead vendors of CDS on the market. And then we go a little bit more deep into the pharma environment and biotech environment, and we're going to talk a little bit about the stability and the pharma solution. Okay. So this is what we're going to be covering today. So starting with the SampleManager PIMS, for those who are not familiar, PIMS stands for Plant Information Management System. The two leading companies on the market that have LIMS softwares are OZSoft, they have the PI software, and AspenTech, and they have the InfoPlus PIMS software. Okay. So if we look from my experience, what I see, like when we step into kind of a process industry, it's very common that they already have a PIMS system, okay, and they figure out that their lab doesn't really fit into like manually doing some data entry into the PIMS software, so they usually go for a LIMS solution as well. So when they have the LIMS solution, they want to have the ability like to integrate both systems. They want to send you the quality data they are collecting on their LIMS software to the PIMS software, so they can just do some correlations of data, like their process data and their quality data, etc. So that interface becomes a must over there. And this is where SampleManager have some out-of-the-box interfaces to these two leading PIMS softwares on the market from both OZSoft and AspenTech. The interface that comes with SampleManager is very robust. It's been there with SampleManager for at least like 15 years, like both of them. They are available from Thermo. They can be installed and will allow this communication to be done. Okay. It's very solid, robust, and like I said, if you do have a PIMS and you do have a LIMS, you probably want those two systems communicating, and there are interfaces that are modules out of the box from Thermofisher that can be installed and configured for that. Okay. So that wraps up a little bit about the SampleManager PIMS interface slide here. So let's go moving to the next topic here, is the interface between SampleManager and the ERP, on this case SAP. So this slide pretty much mimics like what is available on the latest version of SampleManager. I'm going to cover that on the next slide. But basically, what we can see out there is that a lot of companies have an ERP, and most of them use SAP. And Thermo has an out-of-the-box interface for communicating between SAP and SampleManager. That interface usually is what does it do? Like, you're still going to have your master material data, your inspection plans, your inspection characteristics, etc. You're gonna do all your quality planning into your SAP system IDI module of SAP, and this interface comes into place where, as inspection lots are created on your SAP, or your master data is created on SAP, this media interface is going to synchronize that data with SampleManager by creating analysis, MLPs, etc. And on the dynamic data side, by creating like lots, jobs, samples, test results. And of course, like this interface is going to guarantee that after you enter your data into SampleManager, that data goes back to your SAP system, mostly like results and user decision data. So a lot of questions that were asked is, okay, so is this media interface compatible with my version of SampleManager? Yes, it is. Like this latest version of this media interface is compatible with any version of SampleManager 11.2 and plus. It is compatible with your SAP R3. We see a lot of companies going to a journey today to go from R3 to S/4HANA. This interface is also prepared to interface with SAP with S/4HANA. And some of the companies that are going for the cloud solutions for SAP, this latest interface is also compatible with that. So going to my next slide here. So what has changed on the SMIDI interface 12.2, which is the latest one available? This interface is still the VGL-based interface. Like I mentioned before, it's now compatible with S/4HANA and the on-premise or cloud. Okay. And if you look here, if you do have your S/4HANA on the cloud, some of the screenshot that I have on this slide, you can see there are some cloud-specific configuration that are made available on your SMIDI server table for you to configure, like the Cloud API key code, Cloud API host, etc. And so that's the main thing about 12.2 is really to be compatible with the S/4HANA. Of course, there are a couple of things that were improved, and the most noticeable one is the support to SampleManager workflow. So if you choose to use the new interface, it's still compatible with the old way, which is like templates, but this new interface allows you to use workflows as well, which gives you much more flexibility on doing whatever business rule you need to do with your samples after they are logged in, etc., or processed down the road. Okay. And the SMIDI 12.2, of course, it has a lot of bug fixes on it. We do have a list of these bug fixes if anybody is interested in, but there are over 30 different fixes that were made available with the new version of the SMIDI interface. Okay. So this wraps up a little bit about the SMIDI interface. Like Kevin mentioned, we can respond to questions at the end of the presentation. Going to the next module here, we have the SQC module for SampleManager. So what the SQC module is really gives you the ability for you to create your trending rules, I'm sorry, and the trending charts. And this is an add-on. It's going to create a new menu on your SampleManager application. You're going to be able to configure all these graphs. There are different possibilities in there, like average, standard deviation, process capability, etc., etc. More important than that, you're going to be able to train your SampleManager data in real time, so you don't need to export that to a different system to do any of your SQC, to train any of your SQC data. And one additional thing is that you can have SQC rules applied to workflow. So we see a lot of requirements that we do that after you complete a test, for example, get some of the results, trend that against your trending rules, see if it's going out of trend, and display a message to the user in real time, like during result entry. So this would be a very good example of where to use the SQC module. Okay. So this is it for the SQC module, and let me go to the next module here. So LES, for those who have SampleManager 12 Plus, you can see that LES is a new module that comes out of the box. And this module is really designed to break down your SOPs in different steps and make that process digital. So where do you see different needs for the LES module? If you do have, for example, like a balance logbook, if you still have like a notebook to make annotations on your solution preparation and things like that, the LES module comes to make that process digital and completely within SampleManager. So it's a step-by-step laboratory execution system, fully auditable, with e-signatures, with instrument integration, everything in one single application here. Okay. This is just a quick example of result entry for a balance drift check. So this is a screen where we're configuring our LES method that's going to be used to create different executions. We can have like different instructions in there, like different steps, different parameters that are going to be collected. On this case, there are 5 weights that needs to be collected there. You can do your result entry here, manual or from an instrument. You can do your specification check on this screen, etc., etc. So if you're looking for making it digital, like your logbooks that you have on the lab, or even like your SOPs for your analysis methods, to make it like a more step-by-step for the analyst on the bench, the LES comes in very handy here. And like I said, it's available as a out-of-the-box module on the newer versions of SampleManager 12+. With LES in mind, let's talk a little bit about the different module here on SampleManager, which is the mobile. So, just one second. So for the mobile for SampleManager, it comes also with the base installation of SampleManager. So mobile is based on REST web services. What that means is that once you have that installed, that available for access to your user community, people may be able to get a tablet, either iOS or Android, download the SampleManager app from the App Store, and be able to communicate with your SampleManager application. So once they open the app, they're going to be able to do some server setup, which really means like telling the mobile application where we're going to connect to, the server, the SampleManager system, etc. As you can see here on the screen, the functionality that you can do on the mobile here is really towards the analyst on the bench. So we're going to be doing basically like sample receiving, sample movement, like changing samples from one location to the other. And most importantly, you're going to be doing result entry and LES execution. Execute the LES methods that we just talked about. You're going to be able to execute those on the on your tablet. Okay. I have a couple of screenshots about how that looks like. So this is a screenshot for a result entry. So basically what was done here, the user used the camera of the tablet to scan a sample ID, which brought him to the result entry screen. And here on the result entry screen, he's going to be able just to use the tablet to enter the information. It also does all the specification checks, and it's going to flag the out-of-spec results with a red background, etc., etc. And you're going to be able to save your results at the end of the operation here. So very, very intuitive. But besides the result entry, also the execution of the LES method is something that makes sense to do that on a tablet. So you can get your tablet, walk to your bench near your balance, and you're going to do your weighing of the balance, like for your balance logbook, for example. This screenshot shows how does LES method execution looks on the tablet. Your instructions screen appears on the top. Your execution parameters to be collected appears on the bottom. This is a screen where someone is starting an execution, followed by the screen where they are doing the weighing. So the mobile LES execution also supports like the instrument integration that we talked about. So as you can see, there is a small read button on the left bottom of the screen on the tablet screen that can be used to read that value from an instrument like a balance, a pH meter, etc. So those are most of the ways we see the mobile 3.0 being used on the lab. It's really about sample receiving, sample movement, result entry, and execution of the LES method, which is a big plus. Going to a new topic here, we're talking about the SDMS for SampleManager. SDMS stands for Scientific Data Management System. That's on SampleManager, that is called the Data Manager module. Okay. Some of you may not understand really what this module is for, but this module is really trying to resolve an issue, and that mostly applies like to pharma companies, the way I see that, for the data management and the archival of that data over time. Okay, so there are tons of data being generated by the lab on a daily basis on different types of instrumentations, mass specs, HPLCs, UVs, etc. And the concept of this functionality, this module on SampleManager, is really like to get this data that is on a proprietary format from the instruments and convert that to a unique format, which on this slide here we have as XML conversion. And depending on the instrument that you are converting to, some of the data, some of the metadata around that raw data can be extracted, stored in tables to be searched. And the raw files are going to be stored as well on the SampleManager database. And the idea behind it is to put that into a common, unique XML format for seamless data access. I'm going to cover that a little bit more in a slide that I'm about to get there. So if you have a SampleManager 12 Plus as well, you're going to be able, like the data manager comes out of the box. You're going to see the data manager menu on top, a data manager folder on your SampleManager tree view. Okay. So basically, this outlines what this data manager SDMS is used for to make to enable secure, compliant, and future-proof data archival and retrieval. Like 20 years from now, you want to look at the HPLC for that lot of the certain drug product that was produced, and do you have the software to do that? Do you have like how can you see that data? So this is where the need is, and this is the problem that this module is trying to resolve. Okay. So, like I said, simplify analytical data processing with automatic storage in a secure and central location, and convert everything into a neutral XML format. Right now, there are over 180 supported data formats that can be converted. That means that for those instruments, these data converters are going to be able like to parse the metadata of the data, of the raw data that's reading, and storing that into tables and to be able to be searched, etc. If you have an instrument that's not part of these 180 supported data formats, it's a different data format, you can still use Data Manager, like to store the data into an XML format and at least like archive that data into a unique place. And this is really the concept, like, and the concept here is really like for long-term storage. So this really tries to summarize everything that I've been talking about this module. So basically, like you on your daily activity on the lab, you have like these different instruments producing different types of data, raw data. They may be saved locally on the computer, or they may be saved like on a network share. So Data Manager is going to come in and it's going to be monitoring like these repositories of data, and they're going to be bringing that into a safer repository. So basically, it does like a couple of the things that I've talked about. So first, it's going to zip the original data files and store that on the storage, either database or the SampleManager server. This is for long-term storage. It's going to convert like some of the data into XML files. It's going to zip it up and also upload that. And if it's part of one of the 180 like data converters that are available, which covers a lot of the analytical instrumentation on the lab, it's going to also extract that metadata to make it searchable within SampleManager. Okay. So that wraps up a little bit about what the Data Manager module is. So let's go to a different topic here. So this topic is really about the module to integrate with chromatography data systems. And our focus here are going to be really on the leading products on the market, which are Chromeleon from Thermofisher and Empower from Waters. SampleManager has interfaces to communicate with these two different CDS systems. It's usually a bidirectional interface where SampleManager is able to generate the sequence files that can be downloaded into either Empower or Chromeleon. After that, after all the data is, after the samples are analyzed and the data is integrated, etc., on the Chromeleon or Empower, to be able to get those results back to SampleManager, so the bidirectional interface. So if you do have Chromeleon or Empower, it's highly recommended that you stick to a module here. Do not reinvent the wheel to do this communication between SampleManager and your CDS application. So let me just move into a different module here, which will lead us into the pharma solution and stability module. So overall, what we see is that if you stick to using out-of-the-box SampleManager modules, pre-configured modules, and we're going to see that there are a couple that we're going to talk about on the pharma solution, we think that it's not that we think, we have evidence that the total implementation time to go live using pre-configured modules is a lot improved. And why is that? That's because the design, these modules are already, there was a lot of effort on the design and testing of these modules in first place. And all you need to do is to use the module as a basis and do small adaptations to your business process. So we usually see over 50% enhancement, like on go live time, if you stick to using some of the modules here, or go all the way using modules instead of trying to customize or configure your SampleManager limbs without them. Okay. So that leads us into talking about a little bit about these modules. So the stability module is, for pharma companies, it's a no-brainer what the stability module is, but it's for it's to be able to track studies for how the drug behaves over time under certain conditions, like usually like humidity and temperature. But the stability module can really be used for anything related to shelf life, for you to manage any shelf life type analysis, like how your material, your product behaves over time. And so there is a module available out of the box for stability. It's highly configurable, and it has different types of functionality. I think what separates this new version of stability from the older one is the aspect of having like different package types, packaging systems, and that's how it's called on the module, like for you to configure your studies. And this brings a lot of flexibility, of course. And also, this new stability module does a lot of your inventory tracking of your stability samples and material on the chambers. I think the stability module is a presentation that could have like 30 slides by itself, but we just want to make you aware, if you're doing a shelf life type analysis on your lab, the stability module is suited to do that. So moving forward to the pharma solution, this slide pretty much, if you look on a pharma implementation, this slide pretty much talks about a little bit of the different parts of that implementation. We have the base installation of SampleManager and its modules, which is on the first line. We have, of course, there is a step for instrument integration for your validation. So this is what Thermo provides, like SampleManager, instrument integration, and the validation kits. And also one of the offerings right now is for the pharma solution. So pharma solution is a group of modules for SampleManager that can be used or not. You don't need to use all of them. You can just use part of them to be able to speed up your pharma implementation. If you do already have a SampleManager implemented for your pharma, you can look into some of these modules to see if they suit any new need that may have. But basically, on the pharma solution, these are the modules that are available. Like we have enhanced functionality for analyst qualification, certificate of analysis, enhanced functionality for batches, for specific assays for pharma, We do have specifically workflows for content uniformity and dissolution out of the box. There is a functionality for your instrument calibration and maintenance, a module that does enhancements to how you can handle your MLPs, location management. They have a module for logging plans. I'm gonna talk about logging plans in a bit. And they have a module for out of spec, out of trend, retains, reduced testing, and a process for a streamlined review and approval of your data. So it's a conjunction of about 11 different modules in there. And the ones that I highlighted in orange are really the modules that the latest version of SampleManager already have most of this functionality on the base software: certificate of analysis, instrument calibration, and retain management. So for the dissolution, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide, but there are pre-configured method workflows for multi-stage testing for dissolution. Those that are familiar with the pharma world know what I'm talking about, and this come pre-configured methods for that. Location management really addresses the need for you to really drill down into where your sample is located. On this case, you can see that you're going to be able to specify, on this case, the freezer, the shelf, the rack, and the position on the rack where those samples are going to be are stored. So we have a module that allows that to be done. Logging plans is really for those pharma implementations where the inspection data plan needs to be managed from within SampleManager. For those who have SAP, that part is done on SAP and downloaded by this media interface. But for those who don't have, the logging plans is a module that is really really good to manage that process. We have that installed on a couple customers right now, and it's simply amazing, the flexibility that for you to create your logging plans, which are usually based out of the MLP, for different plans on what to do with your samples for different products. And just one last slide here for the pharma solution is a module that is going to allow you to streamline your review and approval. As you can see on this screen over here, this is a customer choosing a lot and doing the review and approval for a lot. So it's going to come into a screen where you have different samples, and you're going to be able to see the samples, the results, the different audits on that sample in one single screen, and do checks for reviewing the data, and that all gets stored into the SampleManager database. So there is a specific review and approval module that can be leveraged for your needs. So with that, I think I said a lot of information here, but with that, I'm going to stop right now talking about SampleManager modules, and I'm going to invite Keir Evans from Thermofisher to talk a little bit about the cloud services available for the SampleManager LIMS. Keir, are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm just, if you can turn over the slide deck to me, I can present that.
Yeah. Kevin, I think we should just switch to Keir. Okay,
there we go. Yeah. Oh, no. Okay. Let me reopen this. Okay. Hello, my name is Keir Evans. I come from Thermofisher Scientific, the digital science group, and I perform demonstrations and have been part of the SampleManager business unit, which is the digital science business unit, for about on and off for about 9 years. In between that, I spent about 17 years as a customer deploying SampleManager installations and looking after them, supporting them. And then as I continued on, then I kind of moved into the IT infrastructure and understanding more than just installing the applications, what it really means to what it means to support and actually install a big application like this in a data center. So today, I just
hey, Keir, just one thing. Sorry to interrupt. I think your slides are cutting on the left and the right of the screen. I'm not sure if you can try to reshare those.
Let's try that again.
Yeah, it's kind of your screen is. Yeah, we can see both black bars on the when you share.
Right. I can bet this isn't me sharing. Then if I go like this again, let me just see how that looks.
It's cutting off.
No, it's still cut off, isn't it? Okay. So why don't I keep it in this mode?
Yeah, what you can do is
if I manage it like that.
You can minimize with your mouse. If you scroll over the bar, you can minimize those thumbnails. Yep.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna
go
like that.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the input. I want to make sure everybody can kind of see the screen here as I'm moving forward here. But I just want to start off in talking about digital technologies. We're all familiar with how digital technologies change our lives. For example, in shopping, travel, banking, and how we communicate with others. The scientific digital ecosystem is changing how science is done, because of this these digital solutions, how we move forward. These changes is how we interact with customers and their expectations, not just how they present and use products, but also in how and what products and services we provide to our customers. This shift in the consumer culture is known as the digital transformation. So, in part of that is really an option to be part of that transformation is to move to the cloud. So I'm going to be talking specifically about SampleManager LIMS server in the cloud and focus on how the new services and service offerings Thermofisher has for SampleManager and the Integration Manager tool applications, and how once we provide that to you on the cloud, everything behind that in terms of the server, the data center, the backups, and all the stuff your IT folks do, we take care of that. Right, and that's a part of the service. Many of these slides are very much focused on why going to the cloud, and we'll have specific interest to for folks in your IT organization and in your business itself. They might be seeing the message about moving a lot of your IT to the cloud. So in turn, we are now sort of bringing those services available here. So I'm going to move ahead here. I'll do this. So, why would you want to deploy a LIMS to the cloud or a large application to the cloud? So there's, six kind of major boxes here in terms of, when you, control deployment and validation. You manage your upgrade and the validation schedule. So even though you're moving it out of your data center or out of your local network, you still, if you use the LIMS, you can still manage and control deployment when it happens, what schedule you have. Another big advantage for having something in the cloud is its agility and scalability. At a certain stage, once you've deployed a LIMS, your company may grow, and when your needs for additional use of LIMS or application grows, it can become a very big project to say upgrade your hardware, your database, your licenses, and many of the things that accompany hosting an application in your data center. With us taking care of most of that, it's really just a change request. So it's much faster. And in the IT world, sometimes you would buy hardware for growth. So you would be investing in a lot larger piece of hardware than you actually need at the time, with the understanding that you'll grow later on. All that risk and that investment doesn't need to take place until it actually happens, until you do have the growth. So you only pay for it when you need it. You don't have to sort of invest in the future so to speak. We've got that covered for you. Now, you certainly reduced IT costs. So, rather than, purchasing and architecting a server, finding a place to put that in your data center, understanding power requirements, cooling requirements, all the things that data centers need to do, buying operating systems, databases, middleware, all sorts of, environmental, or protection for viruses and so on and so forth. That cost is gone for the customer. We take care of that now, and what's really left in terms of costs is really more of a hosting fee. All right, so rather than when starting on a big project, you used to have deploy with you don't have to deploy with a large capital expenditure. So anybody in the business knows that, if I want to buy a LIMS and a server, you usually have to put a proposal in, and it's part of a capital expenditure cost, which you submit, you get approval and a budget, and then maybe the following year or the next quarter or two, you have the ability to really start the project. So, I mean, because, most, lab managers won't have a capital budget, but they'll have an expense budget. With LIMS and this hosted service, it's just an expense budget. So it's a lot quicker for deployment. There's less, internal oversight. So there's minimal resources are need to run the project and manage a system. We have specialized staff for this application where internal staff would be able to specialize in this and many other applications in the data center. We are focused 100% on SampleManager and Integration Manager. So, and you can go global in minutes. When you're out in the cloud, you want to update your licenses and add some more processing power. It's a proposal that you submit, and it takes days, not months. And there's no, initial capital investment outlay in there. So, there are many good business reasons why, taking the IT cost and skills and knowledge and moving it onto the cloud where you have specialists doing the work for you, and let your business, who may not be your business may not be to create computers, it might be to produce, lab services or control manufacturing. Let's let your business focus on that, and let us focus on the IT service itself and bring the application you need to bear. So we use Amazon Web Services for our deployment. So we have a very large skill set of Amazon resources on board, and I'll talk about that a little bit. Amazon has a global reach, right? So Amazon is growing, and you have a reach such as laid out in this map. So they call them availability zones, and you can, depending on where your LIMS or your users need to be for this application, you can put them in one or more availability zones. And in those availability zones, there are one or more data centers, which allow you to do very, good things for high use LIMS systems, as make them fault tolerant, have, low network latency, which helps with performance and turnaround, and produce what they call a high availability system, which is very helpful. There's a link in the bottom right of this slide that for Amazon about AWS global infrastructure, which can send you to a lot of these sites for more information if you want, and or your business needs to know more about it. Just doing this. So we have some flexible deployment options. In the past, we've had the on-premise deployment, and then you have the customer-hosted deployment. IT language, you might be called infrastructure as a service, where an on-premise solution, the positives, you have local implementation, customer has full control of the LIMS, the infrastructure, and the deployment, and the custom controls upgrade and validation schedules. Maybe not so much of a positive is a high capital investment cost, high maintenance and IT costs, slower deployments because, the deployment starts when, the project starts when you're trying to buy hardware, put it in there before even a real application project begins. There's a customer responsible for backup, high availability, and security. Maybe not all your systems in the data center need to be high availability and have real tight security on it. But in order to have it for one system, you almost have to buy it for all. In this case, and that's kind of one of the downsides here, when you want high availability or a secure solution and how to support that, you can have it specifically for the application. So customer managed hosting is really, a fast deployment, annual costs. You're using something like AWS or a like service, Azure or other ones there. The LIMS part of the corporate cloud strategy and deployment. Customer controls upgrades and validation schedules and leverages AWS services for scalability, backup, high availability, and security. Downside maybe is the high maintenance, and you need your own tech ops team for deployment and application knowledge and AWS knowledge. The new offering here is the cloud services, where Thermofisher manages the deployment and leverages AWS services. It's a fast deployment. It has full maintenance. It's an auditable solution, not just the application, but our cloud service is an audited solution, just like if some folks come to the business to audit for the application, you can.
I think we might have lost audio. Can you verify that you're hearing me right now, please?
I just came back on because I realized my phone dropped.
Okay.
So I'm back on computer audio. Sorry for the delay there, but somebody was trying to call me and everything dropped. Anyway, let me just keep going because I know we're kind of closing up on time quickly here. So in here, you have a cloud deployment where you can have a production server, you can have maybe a development server, where you can get a lot of access to the development server, but production server and changes to it, you use our services and tech ops group to make those changes. And we do a lot of risk assessment along with you and provide change control services. So we already have a large expertise of AWS competencies inside Thermofisher. We've been using it for a long time inside Thermofisher and outside, and we've kind of leveraged a lot of that information to sort of answer a lot of questions that your IT organization needs to answer, and sometimes can't afford, it doesn't make it sense for them to go as strict or secure or over the top on terms of the cloud service. Well, we can do that if we want to, and we cover a lot of these points here in terms of bringing any of the services to bear for the customer. In addition to like the AWS services, we also provide cloud services for SampleManager, which includes operating system maintenances, critical updates based on risk assessments. If there's low risk assessments, we can agree with you to do automatic, Windows updates versus timed Windows updates, and manage that with you. We do all the risk assessment and testing ahead of time. We can migrate data and applications. So again, this has to do with when your production server, you can do anything on there that you can through the SampleManager client. Everything else you work with our services team or the tech ops team to make those changes that you might have developed by yourself or with us in a development environment. So, you know, that application support includes, we also do installations, work with you any connectivity issues, and all of that goes through the support desk like it always has now. The support desk will manage whether it's a troubleshooting service like they do now, or information service, or if they need to escalate this into our tech ops team that's running the service itself. You know, we have, you know, Thermofisher is an advanced tier partner within the Amazon Partner Network. You know, our managed cloud deployments occur on Web Services Cloud. We are also health sciences technology partner with Amazon, and we maintain those along with, you know, to keep all our staff and folks up to date with the most recent AWS findings, resources, training. In turn, makes us a center of excellence, which is, you know, is passed on to all our customers and having got most of the services. Inside AWS, you'll hear something about the well-architected cloud, and you know, there's a lot of there's the 5 pillars here which they talk about. So, you know, they have a lot of information on this. You see the link on the bottom right. These are all questions and things that you need to do when you're managing servers, VMs in a data center or in the cloud. And they've got you covered. You can see more. Interesting. So we also raise the bar. You know, in addition to what we can choose in Amazon to secure and maintain a manager environment, we also, from a security standpoint, also use Turbot Cloud Security Guardrail, microtrend intrusion protection, which, you know, can be as a service rather than a piece of hardware, which it's not. You know, we manage that, you don't. In terms also vulnerability scanners, which are updated all the time through Nextbucket. So in closing, you know, going to the cloud allows you to sort of have something in the cloud, provide LIMS in the cloud, any development you want in the cloud, and connecting to some more of these digital transformation services that are coming to bear for laboratories, whether it's you know, data marts or order services, or how you manage out some of your service in the lab. Easily that stuff can move around in terms of collaboration. So going into the cloud, or, you know, with us, you know, Thermo is very focused on making sure we have a service there for you in the cloud, and we want to be with you either way. So finally, you know, digital transformation gives you more flexible deployments. It allows you to use mobile apps a lot more easily, such as tablets and smartphones, such as the SampleManager mobile app you saw earlier. It allows you to do better business intelligence by linking some of your data analysis to other parts of your business more easily, and you know, it's a lot more efficient to make change and move with your business as it grows in whatever direction it needs to. So it makes it more efficient, more intuitive solution for you, and having that in the cloud as part of the digital transformation really changes the way we do science. And finally, we have a team where they have AWS certifications, and you know, we keep the staff up to date. Associates, DevOps professionals, architects, SysOps associates, and even machine learning to help understand deployments and self-fixing without any issues. Questions, and then also in that same light, sharing back over to.
Yeah, Keir, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Just verify that you're seeing the Astrix approach on your screen right now. Okay, great. Andre, you're seeing it as well?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, we're going to have a little bit of Q&A. Before we get into that, just a couple quick things on the wrap-up side of the fence. Just so you can get a little familiar, you'll get a copy of this when we send out a PDF of today's session. But we kind of have a unique way that we approach our work here at Astrix. We've branded it the Astrix approach. It's basically a methodology that's been designed specifically to ensure lab informatics projects effectively align with business goals. It's really about matching the right technology with the right environment. That's what we're after, and we've done this through a combination of 5 steps: strategic services, lab computing, technology selection, implementation and run support, and then finally the data integrity piece. So this has kind of been the hallmark of the work we've done. We've worked with companies globally. We work with large and small biotech. Anybody in kind of the scientific and life science space falls into our area of expertise. And we are really, a company of scientists who happen to know technology. That's at the end of the day how we kind of describe ourselves to folks. So we do have other webinars coming down the pike that we want to make you aware of. We have one coming up in September. We're doing about one a month. September 23rd, 1 p.m. Eastern. It's R&D Enterprise Architecture for Advanced Analytics and Machine Learning. Definitely a really kind of cool, cutting-edge topic that we're gonna jump into. Again, this is going to be September 23rd. All you have to do to register for it is go out to astrixinc.com, and then you go out to our news and events section. So, I'll go ahead and click that for you so you can see kind of where that exists on the website. But you're going to go out to Astrix Inc. here, and you'll come into our main website here. Within our main website at the top, you'll see news and events. You'll see we're actually on this event right here. So, have a look, go in, and you can just go ahead and sign up for the one coming up on the 23rd. And we hope to see everybody there for that. That would be great. Back to the PowerPoint presentation. We're going to take some questions. So before I do that, we want to go ahead and wind up the recording.